And finally, new rule, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever.
1. What do you get when Bill Maher starts lobbing truth grenades from his HBO perch and Megyn? Kelly decides to light up the podcast world like it's the 4th of July, while Sunny Hostin finds herself catching stray insults from 2 different ideological planets. You get a masterclass in long-distance obliteration, no face-to-face confrontations, no messy daytime panel debates. Just as snipers from separate towers delivering pinpoint roasts without so much as a courtesy glance in Sunny's direction. She didn't see it coming, didn't hear the boom, but was somehow left blinking like someone trying to tap out SOS in Morse code with her eyelashes. Buckle up, because this isn't a roast, it's a rhetorical drone strike that left Sunny in ruins before she even knew she
is a particularly weird place to do a simulation.
It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America. There is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct. I think
unfolded like the weirdest TED Talk never given, an academic beatdown wrapped in savage poise, delivered, not by raving trolls or bitter political opposites, but by 2 of the most rhetorically lethal commentators in the game, each taking aim from opposite ends of the ideological spectrum. On one side, Maher, the liberal skeptic who's allergic to progressive overreach. On the other, Kelly, the conservative firebrand who has memorized every contradiction in modern media like it's her bar exam. And stuck in the middle, Sunny Hostin, America's most unbothered moral overlord who suddenly found herself the piñata at a roast she wasn't even invited to. There were no studio lights, no crosstalk, no teleprompters, just Wi-Fi-enabled obliteration from 2 media powerhouses who decided Sunny's smug performance deserved a takedown of Olympic precision point.
That hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this.
I have another legal note. Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this.
Sunny didn't even know it was happening. She was likely prepping for another inspirational segment on The View, blissfully unaware that somewhere out there, 2 rhetorical assassins were slowly circling her brand like hawks. First came America's favorite cranky uncle, who's turned his HBO hour into a weekly therapy session for disillusioned liberals. His target, the sacred aroma of sanctimony wafting from left-leaning TV personalities who weaponize identity politics as a shield against actual discourse. He never said Sunny's name, but let's not pretend she wasn't the silhouette on the dartboard. His takedown wasn't loud, it was incisive, laced with that weary smirk and vintage sarcasm that says, I know your whole playbook and I'm bored of it. For then came the twist.
Liberals like it's his personal therapy. Maher, with his ever-glowing smirk of exhausted intelligence, launched into one of his usual tirades about the smell of sanctimony wafting through liberal media. No names mentioned, no personal attacks, just a well-aimed dismantling of a particular type of talking head who wraps smugness in identity politics and calls it enlightenment.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no f***ing thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide.
He didn't just criticize, he dissected. It was like watching a man sip tea while performing a live autopsy on someone's personality. His takedown didn't come with sound effects, it came with metaphors so sharp, they could slice through a Harvard diploma. He analyzed tone, performance, the posture of superiority, everything. It wasn't loud, it wasn't vulgar. It was academic satire served with a side of exhausted wit. If Sonny's personality were a thesis, Maher annotated it in red ink and added footnotes. It was less of a roast and more of a public dissection, the kind of verbal evisceration that leaves behind no spurs, just a haunting sense that your worldview has been quietly dismantled.
You get this little lecture from, forgive me, those bitches over at The View.
I'm a Christian girl. When something like this happens to you, like this assassination attempt, and you say something like God was watching me, that is a very unchristian thing to say because it's very narcissistic. Well, God was watching me and not watching them. There's something very disturbing. God should have pulled the plug on that mic yesterday.
That's obnoxious. I don't know what church she goes to. That is how people of faith talk, and the intimation is never, he was looking out for me, but not those monsters. It's no, he was looking out for me. It was divine providence. We don't know why he showed his grace on me, and in another instance, this tragic death. But it's clear he did, and I want to make something of it. I want to do something good with it. That is a completely normal, insane thing for someone to say. It's totally consistent with what I hear Christians in my life say.
And just when Sonny's metaphorical reputation was lying there in pieces, Megyn Kelly pirouetted into the scene like a ballerina with a flamethrower. If Maher's critique was the scalpel, Kelly brought the thermonuclear device. She didn't question Sonny's approach, she demolished it. Sonny's signature smug pause, mocked. Her Harvard-adjacent moral superiority, vaporized. Her entire aesthetic of brunch table righteousness. Unraveled with such precision it felt personal. Kelly pulled no punches. This wasn't criticism. It was a high-speed demolition job dressed in a monologue. No scream, no slander, just articulate, pointed facts delivered with the grace of someone sipping wine at a bonfire she lit herself. She didn't just pull receipts. She unpacked Sonny's entire political IKEA showroom and left it in pieces on the podcast floor.
By the way, out there, that hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Because we see it anyway.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
While Sonny continues to spin media outrage, like it's designer cotton candy, fluffy, overly sweet, and liable. To give you a headache, Megyn laid out the blueprint of its absurdity like a forensic accountant exposing a Ponzi scheme. Every moment Sonny thought she was delivering a masterclass in moral clarity, Megyn reframed it as performance art, beautifully lit, carefully curated, and utterly devoid of substance. Meanwhile, Maher, ever the wizard of sarcastic critique, didn't raise his voice once. He didn't have to. His smirk carried more weight than any viral rant. Together, they made a compelling duo. Maher the precision satirist, Kelly the methodical critic. Their tools were different. But the outcome was the same. Sunni's rhetorical empire got hit by two hurricanes that didn't even know the other
Will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed, if you ask them. As we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sonny Hostin of The
January
View
6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust and
As Sunni handed herself imaginary awards for moral courage on The View, Megyn was calmly deconstructing her brand like an academic hit job. Her podcast didn't screech, it hummed. It hummed with the sound of collapsing facades, with contradictions falling like Jenga blocks. Kelly didn't yell, she didn't even lean in. She laid out Sunny's ideological inconsistencies with surgical elegance. She asked why Sunny preaches inclusion but excludes half the country with a sneer. Why she demands empathy but only for those who agree with her politics. Why she acts unbothered while passive-aggressively policing everyone's morality from a couch on daytime TV. It was like Kelly held up a mirror, and Sunny's media persona quietly backed away in horror. Not a personal attack, just a performance review, and Sunny failed.
Been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. So I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and so
migrate.
why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a joke. But,
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump, uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him, and you have and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or
And here's the kicker. None of this was coordinated. No secret group chat. No podcast summit. Maher and Kelly didn't collaborate, they just landed on the same page independently, which is worse. Two minds with virtually nothing in common. Arriving at the exact same conclusion. Sunny Hostin is everything wrong with self-satisfied media punditry. That kind of consensus isn't an accident, it's an omen. The kind of omen that makes producers nervous and spin doctors sweat. Sunny didn't respond. No tweet, no shade, no rebuttal on The View. And that silence spoke volumes. Because how do you respond when people eviscerate you without saying your name? When two different critics describe your entire personality so perfectly that even your own followers start side-eyeing your next panel rant. 9. It's almost poetic. Maher, the old-school liberal with a smirk that could curdle oat milk, delivered a take so sharp it sliced straight through Sunny's tone.
I mentioned this karma stuff on the show last week because I was relating how many texts and emails I got from people congratulating me on receiving a karmagram from the universe in the form of Whoopi Goldberg's chastisement. So I thought this would be a good time for a little tutorial on karma, which, as Americans understand it, is nothing more than an extension of the common logical fallacy called post hoc ergo propter hoc.
Tone of perpetual victimhood. Meanwhile, Kelly, the woman Sunny once publicly sneered, turned like a vengeful librarian with an overdue reading list of receipts. Maher didn't name her because he didn't have tooth-a-glove fit, and the fingerprints were all over the ideological crime scene. Kelly didn't aim for nuance. She aimed for the jugular. She called out the choreographed outrage, the curated empathy, the intellectual bubble wrap that protects The View from encountering actual ideas. Together, they delivered a rhetorical knockout without ever stepping into the same room, turning Sunny into a case study in what happens when you mistake branding for subsistence. 10. This is the inevitable collapse that comes from building your brand on the illusion of untouchability. Sunny had grown so accustomed to speaking from a throne of unchallenged virtue that she didn't see the wrecking balls coming from both flanks. And that's what made it so satisfying. Maher was just doing his weekly monologue, and Kelly was just letting off steam, yet both independently managed to reduce Sunny's brand to ashes with eerie synchronicity. No name-calling, no confrontation, just precision-guided satire and airtight logic. It's one thing to get dragged in a debate. It's another to get roasted so generically that everyone still knows it's you. That's not beef, that's legacy damage. Sunny didn't get attacked. She got profiled by two different pundits. From two different worlds who both concluded that the Empress of daytime morality has no intellectual clothes.